Hey, I'm going on a walk and thought I could make a little video now. So in this video I want to talk about if I am pro-life or pro-choice. There's an airplane. Okay, there might be a lot of background noises, whatever. I'm gonna see how this video will turn out. My hair. Okay, it's fine. The tree, like, a leaf hit my hair. Okay, so there might be like a trigger warning. So some of you might think that, what's the term, like I'm a misogynist or I don't support women's rights. But that's not true, or I don't think so. But anyway, I put the disclaimer out there so you could probably see where, guess that I am pro-life. And then in California, there's like, I think it's Proposition 1 to do with abortion. And then the way that they're marketing it is like, you know, women's rights. So vote yes on Proposition 1. But in the proposition, it's about, when I read the pamphlet, I got like the voter's guide for the proposition. And like if I vote no on the proposition, it doesn't mean that a woman can't do an abortion. I'm in California. So it doesn't mean that they can't do the abortion. They can still do the abortion for like the first 3 months, but this proposition, if I vote yes on it, it'll change the state constitution to say that a mother, even if she's healthy, the baby's healthy, can choose to have an abortion up until birth, the birth of the child. And so for me, that's like murder, you know. So I don't see, how does this have to do with women's rights? The woman still has the right to abort the baby in the first 3 months. So, but that's the way they're marketing it, and I think I understand, like, why would they, you might think, you know, why would they want to choose to push toward that, to have an abortion up until birth? But then you have to think, like, money makes the world go round. And then you have to understand lobbying. So there's lobbyists. It's kind of, I don't like lobbying because I'll explain more like what that is, but like for example, you can't bribe an officer. Like if I get pulled over, you know, for speeding, I can't waive some bills and like, you know, I wasn't speeding, officer. Or if I get charged with a crime in court, you know, I can't waive my bills and, you know, judge, look the other way, judge. You know, that's illegal. But yet if like I'm some big corporation like Pfizer, who made like, each month they made like probably billions of dollars selling the COVID shots. And so like a big pharma, they can lobby for politicians, and the politicians, sometimes they can write the law or they can, you know, sign the law. into existence. So it's like you can't bribe a judge, but in a way, like if you're rich or a billionaire, you can spend millions campaigning for some politician, and you'll go, okay, I'll lobby for you, but try to push for example, Proposition 1. And so now if you follow the money on this, like you may not know, and these are kind of the gray areas in the controversy of abortion, but you may not know it. I have to look both ways when I'm crossing the street. Okay, you may not know it. But like in the COVID vaccine, I remember hearing some doctor online saying, okay, hold on, my arm is tired, I'm gonna switch, holding the phone with the other arm. Okay, you may not know it, but the vaccine manufacturers, one time I was hearing a doctor saying that they use fetal tissue to create the vaccines. And so I looked up, fetal tissue COVID vaccine, and sure enough, I was able to find a study, and it had the names of doctors and I guess scientists who conducted the study. And then sure enough, in the study I read that they use fetal cells to make the vaccines, and sometimes if they can't use fetal cells, they'll use, or fetal tissue, they'll use animal tissue, but it's preferred and works better if they use human tissue, okay, or fetal tissue. And so that makes now more sense, like, and why someone like Pfizer would spend a lot of money. And it just so happens, like, okay, they're on the Democrat side, pushing for these abortion laws. Why would they want abortions up until birth? Well, because then after the abortions, they could harvest the organs, and then those organs can be used for their fetal tissue, and then, they'll make the vaccines. And then also, it's not just the vaccines that fetal tissue has been used in other things too, like in the pharmaceutical industry. So big pharma could have been lobbying too, most likely, for abortion laws, because there's also over-the-counter medicine like Tylenol that they also use fetal tissue. And I'll encourage you could do some research on this, but I found this out because I was thinking about, or I heard someone I know, and okay, maybe I shouldn't walk on this street. This is a major street, and there's gonna be a lot of cars. I'll go back to walking in the neighborhood. Okay, I had to look both ways to cross the street. Okay, so there's fetal cells and some over-the-counter medicine too. So big pharma also will be lobbying, most likely, to push for these kind of abortion laws, because the later in the abortion process, the fetal cells will be more developed. And so if you follow the money, it makes sense, like, okay, that's why there would be these lobbyists pushing for these laws. And for sure there's going to be some politicians that, you know, they'll kind of have it made, and they'll go agree, like, okay, yeah, if you pay millions of dollars to help me in my campaign, yeah, I'll sign this into law. And so anyway, I'm still a little confused. I didn't follow up so much with the Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court decision on abortion, but obviously it was something similar, like in the state. Like, they didn't take away the woman's right to choose. They can still have an abortion, but it was like, I think, like the first 3 months also. But then after that, they're saying, like, no, you can't have an abortion. But I'm not sure if it got overruled, that decision, or I guess the states, they can still pass propositions like in California to try to make it legal. So anyway, there's also like another gray area that I don't like with abortion. And again, it doesn't really have anything to do with women's rights, but that's how they're selling it. And then in Proposition 1, or, you know, it doesn't really have anything to do, but in some states, they're like taking away the parents' right to choose. I mean, they're taking away the parents' rights to raise their kids, in a sense. Because, like, let's say, for example, I'm not a parent, but if, like, I had a 15-year-old daughter, she could go and if she wanted to, she can go and choose if she wanted to have an abortion, and go to the doctor and make an appointment to have an abortion, and then the doctor will be under the law that they can't tell the parents about it. And so, you know, the daughter who's a minor, they can choose to do this behind my back, and then the parents, they'll have no say. And so what does that have to do with women's rights? You know, so that's kind of another gray area that I see. Like, they're selling it as, oh, women's rights, but it's like, really, even if you're a mother and you're pro-choice, but I bet you're not going to want, if you have a daughter who's a minor, you're not going to want them to, okay, hold on, there was somebody backing up. Okay, but they saw me and I walked past. Okay, so they're not going to want to have. So if you're a mother, like, do you honestly, are you gonna go, oh yeah, women's rights, even for my minor child, she can go to the hospital and they can, you know, like with the Planned Parenthood thing, like probably even give them contraceptives or have an abortion, and the parents have no say in that? What's that have to do with women's rights? Like, honestly, if you're a mother, you know, you would say, and you're pro-choice, like, you would want your minor, your preteen, or your daughter to be able to do that behind your back? I don't think so. Okay, so those are like the stuff that, those are the main two things that I don't like with the abortion, and I see that they're selling it as women's rights. And so, as far as pro-choice or pro-life, I'll be tending to vote for, or I'll vote for, you know, stuff that, like, for pro-life, against those abortion measures. And like, okay, maybe, you know, you can choose to have an abortion like up to 3 months, but beyond that, you know, no, I don't think you should be able to have a choice to abort beyond that. Okay, I guess now I'm walking, and I'm walking by a school now. Okay, well, that's now, this is kind of long enough of a video. And no, I did my walk, and okay, so those are my thoughts on abortion. Okay, so gave you something to think about. And if you live in California, maybe you didn't know, like, oh, the proposition, like, that's what it is, that they're saying you can vote, I mean, you can have an abortion like up until the birth of the child. If you vote no on it, you can still choose to do an abortion within the first 3 months. So that's important to know. They don't really tell you that in the commercials. Okay, so you can vote, and that's it now. Goodbye.